Welcome to Barcelona, Spain, and the new Palau St. Jordi Stadium for the 14th annual Indoor Trials. This is the second year that this event has been held at this stadium, located up on Olympic Hill, just north of the city. There were 8 sections set up in the infield of the track. You're looking at section number 7. The ends of the long logs are 10 feet above the floor. In the center are sections 4 and 5, the big white A-frame and the blue tubes. Sections 2 and 3 are the far logs. Section number 1, the red tubes. Section 8 is the platform, and right behind it is section number 9, the elevated Caterpillar track, which wasn't ridden because the riders thought it to be too dangerous. First place in each category paid $25,000. Let's go to the introduction of the trials riders. Here's a quick look at Andrew Codina's production gas bike, the same one that is now being imported into the United States. This one has a 327cc engine, and the one Amos Bilbao is riding has a 237cc engine. The gas company has come a long way in perfecting this bike. And a look at section number 1 as Andrew walks it before his ride. This event was set up a bit different than the last one we videoed in 1989. This year there was no time limit for rides in the sections, and all the riders rode sections 1 through 6 initially. The 4 riders with the lowest points then qualified for the last round, riding those 6 sections plus 2 more for the championship. The sections were set up by Pedro P., the father of Ott P., who is the current bicycle trials world champion and will be doing a bit of exhibition riding at halftime. Making his debut in stadium trials is 15-year-old Marc Colomé from Spain, who could be considered to be a Jordi Terrace replica. He is one of the best young riders around and will turn 16 in time to ride the first World Trials Championship round in Luxembourg coming up on the 7th of April. Montesa signed him, along with longtime factory Spanish rider Gabino Renales and English rider Robert Crawford, to a contract to ride the new water-cooled model, which will be unveiled next month. The next rider is Andrew Codina, and this will be the last stadium trials he will ride. He retired from World Trials competition at the end of last year's series. He has been involved with the gas company ever since they started making trials bikes, and last year became their manager of development and production. He said this keeps him very busy, and he has no time to go out and practice anymore. And if he can't spend several hours a day on a bike practicing, the skill and reflexes needed for this sport won't be up to where they should be. Let's take a walk down sections 2 and 3, which were big, gnarly tree trunks. We walked these before the event started, so the wires you see on either side were for the fireworks display and weren't there anymore when the riders rode them. Also, the overhead lights were turned off except when there was rider action, and that made it difficult to shoot any good video during that low light time. Here's the end of section number 2. A short gap in between the logs and the entrance to section number 3. This section was a lot harder. The hardest part being this little gap here between the logs. The riders either had to jump it or land down on the floor, do some trick turning, and then get up on this log. And the exit was a jump off the end down onto the floor. The riders rode these sections paired up according to their world ranking. Mark is unranked, and Andrew placed 19th last year, so they rode first. Mark's having a bit of a problem in this section, as most of the riders did. Very difficult to keep the bike balanced. The hardest part of this section, this little jump over to the next log. But it wasn't as hard as the jump in the next section. Mark gets a bit off his line here. He scored a 5. Andrew's the next rider. He's ranked number 19 in the world and number 5 in the country of Spain. He gets off his line here. No place to put his foot, and he goes off the side of the section. He didn't have too far to fall, though, compared to some of the other sections. Number 14 in world ranking and number 4 in the country of Spain is Montesa factory rider Gabino Renales. As in 1989, we would not have been able to do the video of this event had it not been for the efforts of Andrew Codina. The rights to all these stadium trials events are held by the Spanish television network, and no other video cameras are allowed. However, Andrew obtained permission for us to shoot this one with some restrictions. One of them was that only 30 minutes could be spent down on the infield by the sections, and then all video had to be shot from one small spot. After the time was up, we moved up into the press box where there was a much better view of the sections. Luis Galak is the next rider in section number 1. This year Luis is riding an Alfa, which is made by a very small Spanish company of the same name. It is an air-cooled 290cc bike weighing 178 pounds, and they only make one about every 3 months, according to Luis. It appears to be somewhat similar to the Montesa. Over in section 2 now, Gabino Renales riding. And from this angle, you can see just how difficult this section is. He's about to jump over to the next log for the exit part of this section. Switching to our second camera, he makes the jump. Balances here for a bit. And he jumps out the exit for a 3. Let's jump over to section 6 now, which was a timed race around the track. The organizers set the time standard for this section, and depending how close the rider came to this time, determined his score. There were a few obstacles around the track to negotiate, however. A jump right here. And one more log to go over. And then across the finish line. And his time was recorded from the stopwatch. Luis Galak is off around these pylons, which is right at the start. over a log. Lewis comes in here, but it goes around this pile in the wrong direction. And that promptly gave him a 5. A lot of the spectators are also whistling their disapproval. Thierry Michaud from France does a flip turn here. He's back in competition again this year. He's 27 years old, a 3-time world champion in 1985, 86, and 88. Right in the Aprilia this year. Last year he was on the Fanic. Didn't compete much last year after he broke his leg in the stadium trials in January. It took him the rest of the year to heal up. But he did ride one world round event. That was the last one in Switzerland, and he placed 9th. Here's 21-year-old Amos Bilbao from Spain. Amos has lots of talent if he could just get it all together. In 1988, he placed 16th in world competition. 1989, he was 8th, and last year he moved up to 6th place. This year he's riding the new gas, and he's riding it very well. So look for some really good finishes from him. Thierry Michaud going into the tricky entrance part of section number 2 now. A lot of points were taken here by the riders. You got to kind of squeeze the bike between a couple pieces of log sticking out on either side of you. A lot of times it would grab the bike and you'd have to take a point. Thierry gets hung up here. And over in the USA, this would be considered a 5. He's got his foot down and the bike is stopped. And it looks like the bike even moved backwards a little bit. However, over here in Europe, they consider this a quick dab. In other words, the rider can put his foot down very quickly, even if the bike is stopped. They'll usually only score him a 1 or a 2. Very seldom they give him a 5 for that. Here he makes the jump to the last log in the section. Once again, he's almost stopped. Out of the section, he scored a very shaky 3, and I think he knows he kind of got through this one with a little bit of luck. Amos Bilbao at the section entrance now. Some real neat graphics and colors on this new gas this year. Makes the bike look extremely attractive. Amos is also a very good little trick rider. A lot of the riders balanced here for quite a while before they made the jump over to the last log in the section. Here goes Amos, and he comes off the side and he falls out of the section with a 5. And these are points that you don't want to give up real easy. They're going to be real hard to get back, especially against these good riders. Thierry Michaud's in the section now. Over in section 3, the hardest part. He's got to make that jump over to the next log, and that's about 3 bike lengths away. Makes the jump, and he comes down a little short. The front wheel gets against an upraised part of the log. There he almost goes over the bars, but then falls backwards out of the section. That must have hurt a little bit. He scored a 5. Here's Amos in the same part of the section now. And like we said before, there's 2 ways to ride this section. You can either jump down to the floor in front of him or make the big jump and land up on the log, then ride it to the exit. Some of the riders just jump down to the floor in front of him, back the bike up, and then attack the log. Amos is doing some pretty neat balancing right here. That's very difficult to do. Amos makes the big jump and turns the bike in midair a little bit. Gets up on top of the log, Launches off the end. He scored a 2. Very good ride. Back in section number 1, Tommi Avala from Finland. Ranked number 1 in that country. And last year finished world competition in the number 4 position. Tommy's 19 years old. This was the easiest section the riders had to ride. He's out with a clean. Donato Emilio now riding. Ranked number 3 in world competition last year. He's 24 years old. He rode the Fanic last year. This year he signed a contract to ride for Aprilia. He was the Italian champion in 1988. He scored a clean. Tommi Avala getting ready to ride section number 2 now. A lot of places in these sections, the riders stop and balance for quite a while. When they did that, we just kind of cut off that part where they balance for a period of time just to make the event go a little bit faster. Tommy makes a good ride in this section with a 1. See how Donato handles this. The Aprilia is a very popular bike over here in Europe. They make street bikes, enduro bikes, motocross bikes, mini bikes. And their trials bikes are very popular this year. Very well made, very durable bike. The top riders don't have to change these bikes too much to ride them. They put on a little bit higher compression heads, and that's about it. Most of the riders want just a little more power and response out of the engines. He's out with a 3. Tommy takes a 1 right after the drop-off, the first part of the log. This was the other way to ride this section. However, that part was very difficult to get up, so it was kind of a toss-up between the big jump between the logs or jumping down to the floor. At any rate, he's out with a 3. 23-year-old Diego Bozes from Italy is riding next. And this year, he's riding the new water-cooled Fanic. There's only 2 of these in existence, the prototype models. Bruno Camozzi from France, who placed 8th last year in world ranking, is riding the other prototype. That's right from Diego. He scored a clean. And the world champion rider, Jordi Terrace from Spain. Jordi's been a 3-time world champion, scoring victories in 87, 89, and 90. Jordi's 24 years old this year. See how Diego does here in the first part of section number 2. And he's out with a 2. Goes the world champion now. That's the first part of section number 2. Jordy's one of the best trick riders around. He loves these real dry sections where there's lots of traction. Jordy rides everything in second gear. Nice ride for the first clean of the night. This new stadium is 4 times bigger than the one we were in 2 years ago. And as you can see, almost every seat is taken. The Olympic site is just a quarter mile from here, and some of the games will be held in this stadium. Diego Bozas getting ready to ride section number 3 now. Seems like green is the end color this year. All the new bikes have some shade of this color on them. Diego makes the jump over to the last part of section 3. He's going to be out with a 1. A real good ride. Jordy's riding next. We'll see how he handles this difficult part of the section. Jordy takes the more conservative line, drops down to the floor in front of him. Now he's got to maneuver the bike around, do some trick turning and hopping, which should be no problem for him. He's got to back the bike up against the log right behind him. Now straight ahead, and he attacks the crack in the logs. And look at this. He lifts the whole bike up, takes a few steps forward, sets the bike back down and he rides out the exit. See what they give him for this. It's a 3. Over to section 4 now. Catch Diego Bozas at the entrance. Kind of a tricky section. Through some water, up the big A-frame, back down the other side, through some more water. And now a ride up the tubes. These are made out of concrete. And even though the tires are wet, there's still a lot of traction here. What makes the section hard is the different diameters, and some of these are sitting at just a bit of an angle. It's a double section. He'll be out of section 4 here in a bit. And just off to his left now is the entrance to section number 5. We walked this before the event started, and in a bit here we'll take a look at it. Basically, it's a bunch of concrete square forms, kind of like boxes stacked on top of each other. Looking at this section from ground floor, there's the A-frame, down through the water, up over the concrete tubes. And as we said before, we walked these sections before the event started, so all the fireworks are still hooked up to the sections. Over the last tube got you out of section number 4. Then there was a pause zone in between the sections, and at this point you started number 5 up over these concrete blocks. Pretty tricky to ride. Off the last block there, you made a left turn in the air and then rode underneath or through the first big tube. We'll pick Diego up here as he makes that left turn. Down through the first tube he rides. A trick turn here, and then up over that big concrete block up in front of him to the exit of number 5. That was a pretty demanding section. Most of the riders did take points on this one. Diego scores a 1 on it. Not a bad ride. See how Jordy does in this section. Those painted boards became very slippery when they were wet. Jordy cleans section number 4 and into the pause zone. The riders could stop in this zone, but they couldn't put their foot down. If they did, a point was assessed to them, which would be scored to section number 5. Jordy gets through here in pretty good shape. Positioning here is critical. And he elects to go off straight ahead instead of making the turn in the air. He has to put a foot down and take a point right there. Jordy's out with a 1. Now we'll go over to section number 6, the speed track. Diego Bozes is about to take off. One more obstacle to go now for Diego. And he scored a 6, which means he took a lot of time getting around the track. Jordy's up next. Looks like he's determined to ride this thing as fast as he can. A few of the young Spanish fans cheering him on. Notice how Jordy kind of pre-jumps this log. And he's going to be scored a 1. This will bring up halftime, and we'll watch out P doing some real neat tricks in his trials bicycle. first round scores had Terrace in first with 5 points, Bilbao in second with 8, and Avila and Emilio tied for third and fourth with 9 each. These would be the 4 riders going into the final round and are the ones on the track now doing the trick riding. Bozis was 5th with 10 points, Michaud 6th with 15, Galak 7th with 16, Calame 8th with 16, Codina 9th with 17, and Renales 10th with 21. We'll take a few minutes to watch the trick riding the riders are doing here. It's really impressive to see some of the things that can be done on these bikes by these talented riders. Most of the tricks look pretty easy, but if you ride trials, then you know that it's a lot harder to do than they make it look. Let's look at section number 7, which I think is one definitely scary section. These are 3 big 50-foot long logs around 4 feet in diameter, positioned end to end with about a 30-degree angle between them. I could just reach the bottom of the elevated end of the first log, which meant the top was around 13 feet above the floor. Jumping from this log to the second one, which was about 6 feet lower and angled 30 degrees to the right, meant turning the bike in midair to land exactly on the next log. Just to prove it was skill and not luck, they had you do it again, only this time you landed on a smaller diameter log, then jumped off the end of it to the floor and the exit. This section would completely check out the rider's skill and courage. Amos had the honors of being the first rider to ride this section. Just getting up the end of this log was a difficult part. Here he turns the bike in midair. And here's a smaller log to land on. Almost has a problem going out the exit, and he's out with a clean. See Jordy jumping from one log to the next one, checking out his line. There is only one line, however. That's to stay on the log. Tommy Avila riding next. He gets up on the log pretty easy. And Tommy almost slips off the side of it. Pulls it back up, and he's going to get a 1 out of this. They have a few biker body catchers down beside the logs. That's a little bit of a consolation to the riders, I guess. Jordy Terrace riding next. Jordy has a bit of a problem getting up here. He has to take a 1. Jordy slips off, but he pulls it up and barely keeps it going. Notice the catch down there. Jordy's out with a 3. They only have to ride this section once, which I think really is a relief for them. The last rider, Donato Emilio. And Donato goes off the side, almost wipes out a sign. Actually, he picked the best spot to go off that log, and that probably got his heart beat up a bit. On to section number 2 now. The riders just finished riding section number 1. Amos took a 3 on it, and on the first round, Codina had a 1. Renales took a 5. Those are the only points taken on section number 1. On section 2 on the first lap, Bozos had a 2, Michaud had a 3, Galak took a 5, Colomé had a 5, Codina had a 5, and Renales had a 3. Jordy cleaned this section the first time through. Amos had a 5, Avila took a 1, and Emilio had 3 points. Jordy has to take one. And that's his only score in this section. Now Emilio riding next. He had a 3 the first time he rode it. And he's out with another 3. Amos Bilbao fell out of this section the first time he rode it for a 5. Avila had a 1 in this section when he rode it the second time. And he's out with a 3. Going into section number 3 now. Jordy elects to make the jump this time. He has to take a 1 right there at the exit. First time Jordy rode it, he had a 3. Bozos had a 1 on this when he rode it. Michaud a 5, Galak a 3, Colomé a 5, Codina with the 5, and Renales with a 3. Now Emilio makes the jump, and he takes a 1. He had a 3 the first time he rode it. Amos is up next. He had a 2 the first time he rode it. He makes the jump and turns the bike in midair. Lands with the back wheel off the log. He pulls it back on though. Let's take a look at this from our other camera. You got all of that sign. And he's out with a 2. Last rider in the section, Tommy Avila, who had a 3 on his first ride. Very difficult jump and a real precise landing. He scored a 1. Going over to section 4 now. Bozos cleaned this his first time. Michaud, Galak, and Codina each took a 1. And Colomé and Renales each had a 2. The 4 finalists now. First time Emilio rode it, he had a clean. In fact, all four of the top riders here cleaned this section the first time they rode it. Now we're to section number 5. This is a tricky part right here, turning the bike in the air and landing 90 degrees from the direction you're aiming right now. Well done from Donato. He's out with another clean. Amos going up, not quite enough speed. Makes a pretty spectacular 5 right there. The bike's foot peg is stuck in one of the cracks on the A-frame. Amos is going to need a crew now to go up there and get his bike back down. Looks like Andrew's the only one who volunteered to help. Andrew's actually going to be Amos's helper rider this year in the World Round events. The two get along very well together. And Andrew's able to talk to Amos and help him out. Andrew gives a real good trial school each year, and Amos is usually a part of that, helping him out each summer. On section number 5, Amos had a 3. Tommy decided to have a helper rider sitting on top of the A-frame now, which was getting pretty slick with all the water being tracked up there. Gets up there without any problem, however. We'll go up to the big screen coverage up here and take a look at this from the cameraman's point of view right down there on the infield. We'll be able to see a little bit more of what it looks like on the back side here on the start of section number 5. Here Tommy's kind of burning his tire to heat it up and dry it out just a little bit before he enters section number 5. As you can see, second gear is the choice for most of the riders. And Tommy's out with a clean. There's another clean from Jordy. And now we'll go over to section number 8. Right up the ramp to the top of this section, a trick turn, and then right back down. But right at the bottom of the ramp, it was a real tight left turn. So he had to come down the ramp as slow as possible with a lot of front brake. He had to stay on the ramp, do a little back wheel kick over here, right off the ramp to the side and out the exit. Pretty simple section for these riders. There was plenty of room up here to make this turn. The way the riders can make these trick turns nowadays, doesn't take much room at all to make a 180-degree turn. He just partially hung up here on his skid plate. There it goes, a lot of front brake. And Tommy's out with a clean. Notice just off to the left of the screen the elevated Caterpillar track that none of the riders would ride because they thought it was too dangerous. One more section, section number 6. Tommy Avila looks pretty determined to make this in the minimum amount of time around this track. He scores a 2. Nice nose wheelie with a foot kick. That's pretty tricky to do. Jordy's turn next. He had a 1 the last time he rode it. Real good time again with another 1. Jordy clears those bales of hay without even touching them with the rear wheel. That's pretty difficult to do also. See how Amos gets through this last section. He likes to go fast. He'd have probably been a real good motocrosser, a flat track racer. Pretty good technique around there. Amos gets it sideways in the air. Lots of style there from the young man. That ate up a lot of time, though. He's going to be scored a 5. When Emilio rode it, he had a 1 and a 2 on his previous ride. That's the end of the trials portion of this event tonight. The dirt track finals will run next, followed by the awards for the winning riders in each category. Jordy won this event for the 4th straight year now with a total of 11 points. Tommy Avila was second with 16, Emilio third with 19, and Bilbao was fourth with 29. And Jordi takes his final victory lap to officially close the 14th running of the Solo Moto Indoor Stadium event. Again, thanks to Andrew Codina for his efforts in getting us permission to video this event. The next Trials Action video we'll cover will be the first World Championship round, which will be held in Luxembourg on April 7th. This is Dale Malasek for Action Video. Thanks for watching.